Hey guys, my name's Summer Turner, and I'm doing my presentation on part 3, which is called Baby Steps of Raising Lazarus. So to start, I think Baby Steps is a really good name for this part of the book because it explains that in order to help people suffering with substance use disorder, then baby steps are needed for both the professional world as well as for the patients themselves. Um, this part of the book kind of explains that we have to meet both the professional world, so like legal people, the government, just kind of everybody kind of where they're at, and just accept kind of their beliefs and not push things too hard because then you'll just kind of get shut down whenever it comes to the treatment. So just to kind of summarize the 2 chapters in this. So chapter 10, Encounters with the Unseen. This chapter kind of explains how addicts themselves are the best people to help other addicts. They know the trauma and everything that the drug use is causing the people who are currently suffering with substance use disorder, and they're just better able to communicate because they've been through pretty much the same stuff that the people who need help are and everything. So let's see. This chapter also kind of, Tim Nolan is kind of the main character of the chapter. He is a doctor, and he kind of meets people where they are. Like I said, with the whole baby steps part, he meets the patients where they are. So in one part, he even was treating people for Hep C in like somebody's private home who was also using. So he was able to kind of make treatment a very comfortable thing for people who are suffering. And I think that that's important for them in order to kind of be able to connect with them. So chapter 11 is called Backburn, and this chapter kind of explains that things are starting to happen. The law is talked about in this one, how they're starting to help people with substance use disorder instead of just arresting them. And this chapter also explains the different treatment options and how one treatment for one person is not necessarily the best option for another person. This chapter also talks a lot about the bupe as well as the methadone as being treatments for substance use disorder. So I worked for a contracted company for, I think it was like 2.5 years, that helped people who were going through the improvement plan of like CPS, Child Protective Services. This company worked right beside the county's day report. Our day report is designed for people with substance use disorder that have been in trouble legally, and if they kind of join this program and do everything that they're supposed to do, seek some treatment, are regularly drug screened and everything, and then it can help them get out of their legal issues and stuff. So for the 2.5 years that I worked there, I've been thinking back, and I think I maybe only had one parent who was not actively using, and his wife was. So I had never, in the 2.5 years I had many cases, and they all were caused by drugs. So neglect and everything caused from substance use disorder. And something that I found interesting was whenever Tim Nolan, whenever he's described and everything about his treatment and stuff, that he continues treatment no matter if they fail their drug screens, or if they don't show up, or whatever they do, as long as they're not selling their bupe that he's prescribing to them, then he continues treatment. And I think that really says a lot, because I've worked with people who suffer with substance use disorder, and it takes a lot of patience. So many times I would have people, because you develop relationships with these people, you're working with them every day, and they have a lot of interesting stories. A lot of them are really good people. They're just honestly suffering a lot. But anyways, some of them, they're on the line of losing their kids. I mean, they're pretty much losing their kids, and they would be sober for like 3 weeks, and you would be so proud of them and like really encouraging them and everything. And then the next thing you know, they would relapse again, or they would just no show. And it was so frustrating, because it's like, seriously, you're gonna lose your kids. Like, you really need to get yourself together. And it's just, it's frustrating. So I think it says a lot whenever that Tim Nolan says that he continues to care for them no matter if they relapse or whatever. It does take a lot of patience. So I think that's cool. But this book relates to Appalachian health, because especially rural Appalachia, I know my county is extremely broken whenever it comes to opioids, and especially meth right now is like the drug of choice in my county. The mental health is a huge issue in this region, and this book kind of highlights that mental health needs to be treated as much as the addiction itself, because there's so much trauma. And from what I've seen working kind of in this field, is that this is like generational. Many of the parents that I worked with, their parents were users. A lot of them were my age, and their parents are like my parents' age. And my parents know their parents and are like, yeah, their parents were also into drugs and stuff. And it's sad, because you're also seeing, especially some of the parents with teenagers that were in the system, those teenagers are already using at like 14 years old. It's really kind of crazy. It's really scary to think about. But so along with the substance use disorder, there's also a huge issue with Hep C, HIV, and AIDS. And this book talks a lot about the same people who are helping with the Hep C and HIV and AIDS. They're kind of using that as their doorstep to help people with the substance use disorder. So this book also talks a lot about the needle drives and stuff. My county, I remember and I remember people talking about how crazy it was that they were bringing needles in for people to swap out and everything. And I was really young. I didn't really understand the importance of it. I just kind of listened to what people were saying. And then now working with people and seeing what kind of diseases and everything that substance use can spread just because of the desperation. Like, whenever these people are withdrawing, they're having withdrawal symptoms and everything, they are absolutely desperate. They'll use a dirty needle. At that point, they don't care. They just want the pain to go away. And I mean, they're suffering, so they don't care a lot of times. Like, they feel like they have nothing else to lose, so what's Hep C to them? Because whatever, they just want their fix. So this book, it also addresses the issues within the system of helping addicts to become healthy, functioning members of society. So, legally, people, the cops and everything, they're just kind of smashing down. Not as much anymore, I've noticed, but a few years ago, especially, they were hammering down on just drug charges and everything, and people were thousands of dollars in fines and everything, and just not paying them. So then they're just going to jail, and jail wasn't really helping their substance use disorder at all. They were just I've heard from many of them, it's just as easy to get drugs in jail as it is on the streets. So it was not helping their substance use disorder at all. If anything, it was just causing them bigger fines and everything, putting them kind of deeper into the hole of substance use disorder, everything that kind of causes it with that trauma and everything. It was just like an extra stress to add on to their already super stressful situations. Let's see. So this section of the book, I think I already talked about it, explains that there isn't a one-size-fits-all for treating substance use disorder. Some patients do respond with like just cold shouldering, not just stopping using, kind of going through that withdrawal, and then they're done. They're good to go. And then some people, they do really well with kind of the religion aspect of rehabilitation and stuff, but some people have issues with religion, so naturally you can't really put them in a religion-based program because that's going to probably cause more issues, especially people with mental health problems. So yeah, this section just kind of emphasizes that there's not one size fits all. Programs and treatment facilities and people who are helping these people really need to pay attention to who they're working with, what their specific traumas are, why they're using, what exactly they're using, whether it's like meth or heroin. All of this kind of determines what their treatment should be. And then kind of finally, something I wanted to discuss is that the treatment plan for substance use disorder should be treatment, not punishment. So jail, fines, even in like CPS situations, because that's kind of what I'm familiar with, what I've witnessed personally. Taking somebody's kids does not help them get over their substance use disorder. Putting them in jail, I already said, does not help. Giving them more fines does not help. So many people should, and it's not easy, but many people should really do like Tim Nolan and continue treatment no matter what. Obviously, if like children aren't safe, they need to be taken out of the home and stuff, but I think it would be really important for like the CPS side of things to keep children and their parents in communication to kind of help give them that extra drive, rather than just cut off all communication and everything and just they lose all contact of their children. That just puts them in a deeper hole, a deeper depression and mental health issues. So the last thing I want to talk about is that it's super difficult to get an addict into treatment, because unless they want it, you're not really going to get anywhere forcing them into it or anything. They're likely just going to relapse. Because, like I've said many times, their mental health needs to be under control before we kind of work on their substance use. So I think that's where like the bupe and the methadone come into play, where people can be on the bupe and stuff so that they're not going through withdrawal while they're seeking treatment. And yeah, I think there should be some more, I think they're called like life coaches. I had many people that I worked with tell me that they didn't want to talk to like somebody like me who had never done drugs before, because I just didn't understand they wanted to talk to the people that had recovered and that were counseling. Those were the people they liked because they could really connect with them. So I think that it's important that the professionals that have not been in that position, to kind of really help the now professionals or the soon to be professionals who were once previous substance users, to really get clean, that they can seriously make a difference and communicate with the people who are now suffering. I think it's important that we kind of take that approach, because from the book talks about it a lot too, that they're the best with communicating with people who are suffering. And they're the ones that are likely going to make the biggest difference, I think. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I was able to kind of connect with it with a lot of different reasons, just what I've done work-wise, as well as what I just witness every day, just going to town, seeing so many friends and people that I know that have just fallen into the substance use crisis. So yeah, hope you guys had a great semester.